So I thought today a brief reflection on this psalm, which is not a psalm that we know that well, although you will recognize some of it, especially if you were singing worship songs in church, sort of beginning to the mid of the 80s. You'll recognize some of the words. So what we'll do is we'll read through it, and then we're going to go back and just reflect on it, okay? So, first one, praise the Lord. Now, just to be clear, that is just all one word. Hallelujah. All right, in the original. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord, you his servants. Praise the name of the Lord. Let the name of the Lord be praised both now and forevermore. Here you are, here's the key words. From the rising of the sun to the going down of the same. Yes, remember that one? To the place where it sets. The name of the Lord is to be praised. The Lord is exalted over all the nations. His glory above the heavens. Who is like the Lord our God, the one who sits enthroned on high, who stoops down to look on the heavens and the earth? He raises the poor from the dust and lifts the needy from the ash heap. He seats them with the princes of his people. He settles the childless woman in her home as a happy mother of children. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. Psalm 113. And if we go back to the verses 1 to 4, please, Chris. My first thought from it, as I looked at it, it divides into three sections, or it did for me. Divided into three sections. And the first section is all about God's worth. Have you ever considered the worth and the value of God? We are, let's be honest, inclined sometimes to forget just how valuable and worthy God is, aren't we? Especially when we neglect our relationship, or we're inclined to forget about him, or be blasé about our involvement with him and with church. But look at this. Praise the Lord. You, his servants, praise the name of the Lord. I mean, that's a recognition. Because we only praise that which is worthy, don't we? We only praise that which is good. We only praise that which is talented and skillful and it adds value. And we don't praise that which is, when you're writing a review, when you've been out for lunch and you're doing a review of it, you don't write a review that goes, this was brilliant, if it was not so brilliant, do you? We praise that which is good. Praise that which is. We found a little cafe restaurant in Holywell, North Wales. Little Jamaican restaurant doing authentic Jamaican food. And I was reminded of Roy as I ate salt fish and ackee for the first time. I said, I'm going to try this because my friend used to love it and I never had the bottle to try it, so I'm going to try it. It was gorgeous. It was lovely. And then goat curry. And I was reminded of Vera cooking goat curry. And it was absolutely lovely. I was barely out the door when I was on TripAdvisor going, this is brilliant. What a wonderful hidden gem. Everybody should go there. How many excuses can I find to be in North Wales on a Friday night? No. Because if something is good, we praise it. And it's right to praise it. And sometimes we need to take time to say to one another, that was good, thank you. And to honor one another, don't we? I've done too many funerals where people say all the nice things about somebody once they've died. Don't wait till they're dead, tell them when they're alive. And the psalmist starts this with, praise the Lord, you his servants, praise the name of the Lord, because the Lord is good and worthy to be praised. Let the name of the Lord be praised now and forevermore. From the rising of the sun to the place where it sets, the name of the Lord is to be praised. Right around the world, God is to be praised. For he is exalted over the nations. His glory is above the heavens. And sometimes it's good just to stop and think about the God whom we worship, the God whom we serve. Because one of the great things about what happened when Jesus died and rose from the dead was he made God accessible to us all. So we can talk to God anywhere. We don't have to be in church. We don't have to have had a really good week. We don't have to have been really spiritual and religious all week. We can talk to God anywhere because Jesus has torn the veil that separated men from God, people from their Creator. He has torn it in two. And that's great. And it's a wonderful privilege. The danger is it makes us almost complacent about who it is we're talking to. Because when we talk to God, although he calls us friend, he's not me mate. He's God. Although he says, I am his child, he's not somebody that I can be blasé about. He is the creator of all things. And we need to remember that we are called not just to love him, not just to walk with him. We are called to worship him, to praise him for his good works, to honor him, to fall on our face in adulation before him, to bow the knee and glorify his name. He is the creator of all things. He is King of kings and Lord of lords. There is none before him. There will be none after him, save those to whom he gives eternal life. And we need to recognize the reality of that in our relationship with him. Because our God is not a God that we can be blasé about. Amen? And the first part of this psalm, it's all about God's worth. The second part, next one please, Chris, verses 4 to 6, is about his worldview. So we've got God's worth, we've got God's worldview, the way that God sees things. We're very quick to see things through our worldview, aren't we? Especially if somebody says something that upsets us. We feel sneaped. It's very easy to interpret everything that's gone on from our worldview and our perspective. And let's be honest, a lot of the time that's right. A lot of the time we're right in our worldview. But at the same time, we can be very quick to trust what is a limited vision. Because I see things, and as Paul says to the church in Corinth, I see through a glass darkly. I see through a faded mirror. It's limited. My vision is limited. And with the best will in the world and the most open-mindedness that we can possibly achieve, the truth is our vision and our perspective and our worldview is always going to be limited. It's going to be limited by what we know. It's going to be limited by the culture we've been brought up in. It's going to be limited by the core values and insecurities and uncertainties we have. It's going to be limited by the things that have been said to us in the past. It's going to be limited by the things that have been done to us in the past. It's going to be limited by the fact that one day I will die. You know? My life is not infinite. My knowledge is not infinite. My understanding is not infinite. I do not see the hearts of men as they truly are. I see them from my perspective. And we are very quick to trust our limited vision. But this makes the point that God is exalted over all the nations. You know, Jesus said, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. The point of that, who art in heaven, was that he is high and lifted up. He is above it all. He sees it all. He knows it all. He understands it all. Yes? Who is like to the Lord, who sits enthroned on high, who stoops to look on the heavens and the earth? And sometimes we need to remember just how high above it all God is. When the storm is raging in our lives, when our worries press in on us, when our fears for the future swamp us, when our anxieties about those that we love sit heavy on our hearts, when we feel unable to stir ourselves up to motivation and to do the things that he wants us to do, when we feel as though it's all pressing in, we need to remember God is high above all of that. And he stoops down into it because he cares for us. Yes? God sees all. Nothing is hidden from him. The secrets of the heart are known to him. We can fool ourselves. We can fool others. But he sees and knows the truth of our every motivation, our every desire, and he sees every outcome as well. Because he is not only high and lifted up above the earth, he is high and lifted up above time. He sees the end from the beginning. Nothing is hid from him. So when we are inclined to trust our own vision and to get wound up in our own perspective and our own limited ability to see, and when we're inclined to believe our own neuroses or the opinions of others about us, we need to find his worldview, how he sees us, because he is exalted high above the heavens. Yes? And then the third part of this psalm, as I reflected on it yesterday, is this last bit. It's God's work. Verses 7 to 9. The work of God has a driving force behind it. From the very creation of all of the cosmos and the earth and the things therein, including humanity, throughout history, throughout the work of the cross, throughout the work of the church from there, throughout the functioning and the experiences of your and my lives, God has a driving purpose. And that purpose is summed up here in these verses. The work of God, you see it in Jesus' sacrifice, you see it in the history of the Bible, you see it in the history of life. The work of God is committed to take us from our lowly estate and to raise us up. God wants to raise us up. We were dead in trespass and sin. He has raised us up to new life in Christ. We were once far off, but we are now drawn near. We were once no people, but now he has raised us to be his people, children of God. And just as an aside in this, and I know that I've banged this drum a few times, and you're very patient with me, but I do it because I believe it's really important. How different is the biblical perspective in that psalm of God towards those who are poor and outcast and separated in society compared to the way of the world so often today? I do not believe for a moment, and hear me right in this, I do not believe for a moment that the God who raises the poor from the dust and lifts the needy from the ash heap and seats them with princes would do it by sending them to a country thousands of miles away from where they are desperately desiring help. Yeah? The attitude in the heart of God is to come to all of us in our lowly estate and to raise us up. To seat us with the noble, the righteous, the etc., etc. And you see it in biblical characters throughout the Bible. Abraham, he was a nomad. He was a traveler. I use that word advisedly. And he became the father of a nation. Jacob was a cheat and a liar, and he became the prince of God. Joseph was arrogant and full of himself with his dreams to his brothers and ended up in a prison forgotten. And God raises him to be the leader of a superpower. Gideon was the least of the least. He became a mighty man of valor. Joshua was an ordinary bloke, servant of Moses, a spy. He became not just the leader of Israel, but the one who took them into the promised land. And you see it again and again. You see it with good people like Samuel and Esther and Deborah. And God takes them from their lowly state and raises them into the place where they can serve him. And who knows if you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this, because it is God's timing and God's purpose and God's hand to lift them up. We see it with strong people like Daniel, who was strong and committed and would not waver, and God raised him up. We see it with weak people like David, who was continually tripping over the feet of his own feelings and desires and weaknesses and lusts, and God raised him up. We see it with good people. We see it with bad people. Zacchaeus was a cheat, and he defrauded people, and he betrayed his own people. And Jesus said, "Come down out of that tree. You and me are going to have a chat." And he was a transformed man as a result, because God raised him up. We see it with the apostles. Thomas, the doubter. Peter, the denier. All those who fled. The apostle Paul, who persecuted the church and oversaw the killing and the martyrdom of Stephen, the first martyr. And God raised him up. And again and again and again, we see the reality of 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 26 to 31. The reality that God takes the weak and the foolish and the things that are of no account, and he uses them to confound the strong and the wise and the things that are. That is God's work. And it's really interesting to me that he takes the psalmist takes the three areas that will most impact the people of his time. And we could put any area in this. But the poor who are living in the dust, they're living on the street. The needy who are picking through the ash heap, trying to find something to sustain them. The heartbroken woman who is outcast by her society because she has no children. And the psalmist says, he raises them up. He restores them to where they should be. He fulfills their potential. That is God's work. And this psalm gives us his worth, it gives us his worldview, but it also gives us the work that he is doing now. Which led me to a question. What low place would God lift you up from today? What steps are needed to take you from that emotional or physical or spiritual low estate and raise you up into the place where he would have you? Perhaps, because sometimes the problem with our low estate is that we cannot see any way out, can we? We cannot see how we would actually, we're down there, he wants us to be there, but that's an awful long way, and we cannot for the life of us see how we could make it. How am I supposed to climb up those stairs? How am I supposed to make it to the top of that Jacob's ladder? How am I supposed to achieve those heights? And I struggle, and I try and force myself into it, and I try and sort of ritualize myself into it by doing A, B, C, and D. Perhaps we need to recognize that the steps by which God raises us from our low estate to the place where he would have us are not just about our effort. There is some effort involved in us. We can't just sit back and wait for it to happen, you know what I mean? But primarily, it's about seeing his worth. Seeing his worldview rather than your limited worldview, and then opening yourself to his work rather than trying to do it on your own. So often we try to do it on our own, and we fail. And as a result, it becomes even harder to pick yourself up and try and do it again. So maybe the answer to how he raises us up is that we start by seeing it's his work and that he is able, and trust his perspective and give ourselves to follow him rather than to do it so that we can reach a place where we can meet him. Amen? Psalm 113. Lord, bless your word to us today. God who raises the poor, the needy, those who are in low estate, to the place where you would have them. A place of honor, place of esteem, place of status. Maybe not in the eyes of men, but in your worldview and for your glory. Help us to see we do not have to do it on our own. And help us to determine what you would change in us, and then look to you, who is to be praised, and trust your perspective that this is possible, and give ourselves to following your work to make it happen. Amen.